Back, everybody. My name's Tommy McCarthy. We are Cyber News Global, and this is Let's Talk Cyber. Well, you might recognize this guy, not with the England top on, but this is Dr. Jassim Haji. I had the pleasure of meeting him at the AICS conference in Bahrain last year. We talked a little bit about AI and about the impact that AI is having now on the business community and the wider extended human community. But I've got the opportunity to speak exclusively today to Dr. Jassim Haji about AI. Dr. Jassim, welcome to Let's Talk Cyber, sir.
Good afternoon from here and morning for you all. It's a pleasure and honor to be participating in this talk.
Wonderful, Dr. Jassim. I can't ignore the fact that today you're wearing an England football top and something tells me you might be a supporter of our national team. Would that be correct?
It is. It's for a reason that I like England. I've been supporting them from my childhood, but also half of my family, they are also from England. So that's also more reason to support them. But yeah, happy night last night, and hopefully wishing all the best for Sunday.
Indeed. Dr. Jassim, before we get into our subjects that we've been discussing, could you please give our listeners a little bit of a flavour for who Dr. Jassim Haji is? I know that you are a professor. Could you please extend a little bit more on your background and your roles there in Bahrain?
Yeah, I'm an executive advisor for His Highness Sheikh Nasser Artificial Intelligence Research and Development Center, also chair of Industry Advisory Board for 5 universities in the country, and also have roles in the international group of artificial intelligence heading it and Bahrain AI societies, and also very much engaged in participating in over 750 conferences, writing 5 books in English, Arabic, and co-authoring one in Spanish, and many other participation, but mainly all surrounding AI domain.
I see. There's no question that you're keeping busy. I had the pleasure of bumping into you at JISEC in Dubai back in April. It was quite a nice surprise. We met in Bahrain back in December, and I asked you to tell us a little bit about AI and what all the fuss was about. And you told me AI had been around a long time. Could you just give us an idea about what your interpretation is of AI and what is it that we're facing right now with this revolution?
Well, I mean, let me give you a little bit perspective from our culture and why we think AI has been a long time and why it has been initiated in this part of the world. As it was around 782 that one of the Arab scientists called Al-Khwarizmi, who invented algorithms, and exactly the same algorithms used today by many developers. And in Arabic, actually, the algorithms means Khwarizmiyat, so that comes after his name. And of course, during his reign, 1,300 years ago, he tried in the lab in Baghdad to develop a lot of algorithms and statistics, but of course, because of lack of power of the machines that we have, from GPUs to the latest of NVIDIA inventions, this was not possible. So what it takes today, 1 or 2 seconds, it would have taken them 6 months from his students to develop. And of course, this has been on the surface for all over this period, but used in a different methodologies until in 1956, Professor John McCarthy came in US and reinvented the AI using the same algorithm, of course, and with different ideas, but it has been stalling for the decades until, in the past decade or so. I mean, of course, before that, the Japanese came up with their robotic versions in Tokyo Expo. IBM Watson did their first algorithms to beat Garry Kasparov in chess championships, and few other attempts, but it was in the last decade. And probably the evolution came during the COVID and after COVID, and namely the generative AI, which we will talk about more in a few minutes, but that came out as end of 2022 when OpenAI came up with ChatGPT and different versions until we got to 4.0, which we use today, plus a few others.
I think that's for me, I'm trying to think back when was the first time I became aware of AI, the concept of AI, IBM Watson's. I do remember some years ago being at a conference, listening to the IBM guys saying this is going to revolutionize the world. Nothing much happened. But then ChatGPT came along, and I think that was the turning point for most lay people, the individuals like me that really are non-technical. Where do we stand right now with the evolution? It seems to have just gone on an unbelievably rapid state where AI now, everything you talk about is AI generated. So where do you believe we are now when we ask that question, where will AI take us? Where are we right now with AI?
Well, I think first of all, we'll have to probably distinguish between what AI was very much on the surface from 2013 until 2022, which was mainly using machine learning and deep learning to develop through NLPs different solutions for organizations, business units. It was not something available for the public and as apps for everybody to access it. So that's why it was not very popular. It was not very much commonly used, but it definitely was used by major organizations. And what ChatGPT and probably naming generative AI did in 2022, the fourth quarter, was to bring AI to the doorstep of everybody. So anybody could just download the app, have an access to any of the Gen AI applications and in different fields, and be able to benefit in his or her daily life or for limited use. The problem with that is with the corporates now, they said, well, is Gen AI developed for individuals? Is it developed for certain activities to do, or is it going to replace all the jobs? Now, what you see from, or have you seen in the past 2 years with GPT and Claude 3.5, the few otherwise beings, is being used mostly by ordinary people, maybe over 80%, rather than the corporates. And that was used for chatting, for doing certain developments of images and videos. But now I think the corporates are stepping up, and so do the Gen AI companies, to bring that to a higher level, to what is matching the traditional AI, because the traditional AI is for analyzing the patterns of the data and, of course, doing a forecasting or predictions, as what is known in the different fields, like health sector, predicting early detection cancers. I mean, that is at the moment probably not strictly available on Gen AI, and still we have to rely on the machine learnings and using various topologies that we use. We can use that in, for instance, in the industry, in the oil and gas, and predicting the rises of the SEG munitions and few other things. The Gen AI was used more on the conversational part for people to use it, as you can see now, with the Copilot, to develop, for instance, letters, or write you an email, or probably answer certain questions. And that's good enough, but that is probably a replacement of what was known in the past as Google search.
Yeah.
You know, when you search and you get like 20,000 searches for Tommy, it will tell you who you are exactly in a brief and saves your time. And it has disadvantages and advantages, of course. Or write you a letter that, for people which, you know, they don't have English as their first language, it's written quicker or more professionally. But the development is as such that we can't even forecast what is happening in the next few years and few.
Well, I'm going to have to interject there, because this is one of the things I want to understand. Your forecast, and this is how I'm going to put my question. we've looked at the evolution of the energy sector around oil and gas in exploration. I live in Aberdeen. It's the oil capital of Europe. I've been here since the early 80s, and I've seen the industry evolve through technology, capability, efficiency, but it's taken 3 to 4 decades to evolve. What is the comparison in relation to how quickly you believe AI will evolve to be advancing everything that we do in industry and adding real capability and sort of advancement in how AI is used in the workplace? Do you see it being a natural progressive stage, step by step, or do you believe that AI will go much quicker and expand much quicker?
Look, I personally, I disagree with people who predict AI in general, across the board, across the industries, and across the countries. With all the respect, it's not going to happen like that. You'll have to look at it all as per sector, per country. It has a lot of dependencies. For instance, the countries which are more advanced in technologies and infrastructure, they will have AI impacting their workforce quicker than the countries which do not. And this is probably an equation that disadvantages the advancing countries. If you look at the sectors, which are the sectors that will mostly invest and benefit from AI, those will be progressing quicker. So if you look at the health sector, if you look at the education, and if you look at the oil and gas, those will be spending more time and resources and money, of course, on AI, because the return at the end of the day is not about implementing AI as a technology for the for the purpose of marketing. It is, you'll have to see benefits of it. And how do you realize benefit? In two parts. One, you will have to see how it will perform your activities quicker, more efficiently, more accurately, and biasless. And the other part is how you're going to reduce your cost. So what is the biggest cost in every organization? It's not your production lines, because that's you pay a lot of money to maintain that. It's your resources. If you increase your budget by 10 to 15% for spending on AI, you expect 25% or more reduction in your capital or operating, but mainly operating, which will be from your resources. So if you reduce your manpower, you will have smaller offices, less electricity bills, less insurance. So that has to be in comparison. I disagree with people who say, well, AI will, for instance, create 800 million jobs, as much as 800 million jobs will go away. That's nonsense, because whether we like it or not, AI is there to reduce the control of the human over the business, over the activities that they do.
It's interesting you touched on 3 different industries that you believe would probably advance more with AI, and that was education, oil and gas, for instance. I have a concern about education, in as much that when ChatGPT came about, obviously on a daily basis in the UK media, young students were using ChatGPT to write theses, to write reports. You know, how much of an impact is the use of technologies like ChatGPT going to have on the learning, the real life learning for these students? Because the whole purpose of further education is to, immerse yourself in engaging with leaders like you to understand more about, society, more about every aspect of education.
Yeah.
But if technology is going to be there, readily available for these young minds to use, is it not going to distort their ability to learn properly and to impart their own knowledge? What's your view on that?
Very, very good question, but I'll make a statement, and probably you will think it's very wild, but it will be proven in a few years. I think the culture of what today known as plagiarism, or in a simpler language, cheating, will be in future a norm, not a negative perception that we have or we had for the past, God knows, 100 years or more, on how do we define cheating or plagiarism in education sector. I think that will be with the availability of generative AI, the norm will be to use such things by students. It's like when calculators was prohibited for people in the math classes, and then they ask you to bring your calculator to the classroom or you cannot come in. So the future will be, you will be forced to use ChatGPT for your aid in the examinations or writing theses. And if you don't use it, you will be marked less. So that will be the evolution that will happen. Although there are, let's call a reverse GPT tools available where you put in it and say, well, was this originated by GPT or was it the original work? But of course, students are very intelligent. Today, nobody goes on a GPT and says, write me a thesis and submits it. They will take that and then they will submit it to another generative AI, for instance, to Claude, and say, can you change this and write it in a way that it does X, Y, Z? And then they take that and feed it into another one. So it'll be more difficult to identify these are genuine or not. But the point is that universities and teachers in future will not spend time verifying if this is the student's work or not. They will have to prove differently and different skills that the work that they do is genuine, that they deserve the marking or not but looking at the thesis and ideas.
Straight away, the obvious thing springs to mind for me. How on earth can that be considered learning? Advancing your own brain power, advancing your own knowledge and understanding of the subjects that you as a student are going to go and focus on in your university careers. That's a right and a wrong for me. And I guess, as you've just said, only time will tell how that is embraced. So I guess
sorry, just one point on that. There will be more of live interaction as we do by students, because there will be different schooling mechanism, which if you like, or if you have time, I can explain, but it will be more of interactive live sessions, right? Rather than saying, go home and you have 3 months and write us something and come back. It's testing the knowledge on and on. It's like you're testing me now. What is my knowledge? How I can respond to your questions.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a good analogy. It's a good way of educating me, because, you as a leader in AI are very much a minority in respect of people that know nothing about AI. We are 99% of the population. You know more about AI and understand where AI is going to go. The people that are confused, the people that are concerned, are people like me that wonder, how will this impact not just on my working life and my life in general? I have two young grandsons that can. I've got a grandson that's not even 3 yet, that can turn on an iPad, can find a program. Now that's advancement, but is he really learning? Is he really learning? He's understanding how to get around the iPad. My worry is, very rarely will he go outside and do what I did as a child and engage with life. There's a whole new evolution. And from a business point of view, there's one really important thing I need to understand. How do we stop this from getting out of control? And how do we prevent this from being used maliciously? What is the governance going to be to control and monitor how AI is used in the workplace, how it's used in government? Everyone's got concerns right now about the American elections and about what went on previously. So how are we going to govern the introduction and the integration of AI into government, into workforces, into policing? What's your opinion on governance when it comes to AI?
Let me first answer you about the learning. And I think the mistake here is we think the definition of the learning is what we were told or what we were taught. And the learning is not specific to reading the books, to going through the tests and understanding the way we did. The learning, I think, the symptoms will be changed in the years to come. The learnings will be how to interact with AI and how you will be able to utilize AI. So in the past, the technology or AI was in the custody of a human. So you use that to assist you. The
Yeah.
future it'll be, and again, is probably a big claim, but how you will be able to best serve the AI to make AI work. So you see the reverse that is going to happen. You talked about the governance. Of course, there's a big concern about it, and but despite that concern, if you look at worldwide the practicality of the governance, the ethics that everybody talks about, but on the real life or on the ground, where is the governance? If you look at United States, which are leading, them and China, the world of AI, if you like, there hasn't been any governance, any acts, if you like to call AI acts, or ethical considerations to that. There are based on individual organizations. So they say, okay, we as a government are not involved in development of AI. So we're not going to force this industry how to govern or how to provide the guidelines to the AI. And the key is guidelines, it's not the governance. You can put guidelines on how to use it, but you can't put the governance. It is moving so fast, you can only waste your time by writing it. China doing more or less the same things than most of the countries. Only EU came with the AI Act, as you know, earlier this year, but that also took them 3 years. You know why? Because they were ready to come out with it, and in 2022, end of it, they found out ChatGPT. So, oh, whatever we written is all wrong now. We'll have to think what this is going to do, rewrite it. And they rewritten it, but they rewritten it very cautiously, and they're putting some considerations. What are the priorities? What are the risks? It's basically on the risk management. So they said health and education are the biggest risk. We have to focus on this. Others, let's leave them in 1 or 2 years. But how do you know the health and education risk? How are they progressing? So that's why people are very cautious to go full-fledged on governance. And again, my personal opinion is you can't put general governance across AI because it will be too broad. If you're really thinking to do a governance or guidelines, you'll have to go again per sector. You can put a governance for health and oil and gas and probably education and banking in the same way. You can say treat the patients and the customers in the banking and people in the manufacturing for this category. It won't work. You'll have to be very specific and per organization.
Until you said we need to go per sector, I was beginning to think that maybe you were going to say we can't regulate it because it's too broad, because it's too regional. Geopolitically, every country will utilize AI for different reasons. And
So
if exactly.
if we're going to regulate it, I say we'll do this. So that's
Yeah.
the big if.
Yeah, and for me, common sense would have to prevail, and it's industry sectors that would need to adopt their own governance guidelines for the use of AI within their sectors, because you're absolutely right. A broad umbrella of governance covering the use of AI in every sector just would be so complex, a minefield. I think they've wasted a resource with the EU AI Act because how it will be implemented, God only knows. How it will be adopted, who will take it seriously. Organizations and governments are seeing one thing about the use of AI: improved economic ability. So that's going to obviously reduce costs in every sector. Therefore, I'm sure it'll be embraced and probably not governed quite as stringently as health and safety, for instance, where there's a different approach.
I mean, even looking at that part, United Nations didn't come full-fledged and saying we have a guideline. They said emphasizing in a very broad term, and there should be consideration to ethics, to security, etc., etc. Even if per sector, you look at WHO, they also have a guideline. But again, it's leaving it very broad to countries, to per sector, per hospital, per specialization, to take their own consideration into that. So, and it will be difficult to do that. And one another wild prediction that I can share with you about the governance in future. I think the best organization that will be able to control that and put guidelines, your guess, it'll be
Oh, in AI, it would be AI.
yeah,
It would be AI itself.
yeah. AI will be the best to judge how to put governments or frameworks around that, and anybody else will be too slow and will not have enough information to do that.
What point do the roles reverse? And in as much that who is teaching who at the moment? Is AI evolving with human interaction, or is AI just evolving now through the generative capability? Where are we at right now? Who's teaching who? Human or
Well,
AI?
as I mentioned earlier in this interview, I said, the roles are changing from using AI to serve the humanity and moving to humanity or human serving AI purposes. So, and the more we go through that balance will be shifting, and it will be suicidal or beyond any logic that we continue thinking that with the capabilities of AI, its efficiency, its power, that human can compete in the business. That's not possible. I mean, it's going to be just no rationalize behind it unless you insist that you want people to do the work despite the differences in the productivity.
Yeah. No, we see in futuristic movies on TV on a daily basis where in the workplace, AI robots are taking over. In public, AI policemen. God only knows what's around the corner. Just because we're coming to the end of this interview and I've got a couple of very, very short questions to ask you. You are the advisor to your country's leader. What are the questions you're being asked at that highest level? What we should know about AI? What are the concerns that your country's leaders have about AI, where it's taking you?
Well, I tend to tell everybody we as professionals in AI don't have the answers. The answer should be with decision makers, and that's why our aim in the country is to disseminate the information, to educate as many people in different levels about AI so they understand it and they make their own sound decisions. It's not something that I don't think few experts of AI anywhere in the world to come and tell leaders in different industries that you should change your business to this because AI is there. Who are we to say that? We should give them the tool, the knowledge, and they judge the differences, and they will, of course, find out that there are several benefits from that.
I'm going to ask you for one prediction, and it's not the outcome of the football game on Sunday, and I'm not going to ask you to use AI to tell me the outcome.
Yeah.
I want you to give me one prediction. You must have an idea as to what will be the next groundbreaking evolution that AI will be responsible for. In what sector, in what industry? What do you believe is going to happen with the introduction of AI that's going to be revolutionary? Is there something around the corner that we need to be aware of?
Well, first of all, I should tell you what I don't agree to before answering that. I don't agree the people who come up and say, I'm sure you heard of AGI or artificial general intelligence, and it's going to come in 2050s and all that. And I challenge all of them and say, well, if you can tell me what is going to come up in 1 year, then I would listen to you, because nobody knows what is happening beyond there. But I think what we will see next and through Gen AI by the people is the conversational educated AI. And this is something that we will have, each of us, starting from the education sector, another avatar, if you like, of storing all our data, all our behaviors, all our history, and being able, like using, today ChatGPT, but that's general, that's using public LLMs. So that's in the past. Now people going per organizations, per countries, and putting what they call closed LLMs to understand the requirements of those people in that country or in that industry, but it's going to narrow down to understand the requirements and store the data of LLM of individuals. So there will be a continuous dialogue with your own LLM rather than a general one. So this is something
you've just taken me down a rabbit's hole here by saying that. Because what I need now to ask myself is, will AI influence the way I learn? Will AI influence the way I make decisions and think? Will there be that much of an influence from an education point of view when using AI that it won't actually allow me to think for myself, but it will influence the way it wants me to think? Do you think that's a possibility? Could it be that advanced?
Well, and don't forget, human beings are very diversified creatures. And if you put it into concept of being jack of all trade but master of none, you'd like to know about everything and take decisions about anything. So AI will make you focus probably on things that you would like to do better. These are more of your habits, or more of your professionals, and let other things or the other decisions made for you, so you don't try to understand everything at the same time and not have real background about it.
AI, a jack of all trades and a master of none. Well, what a great statement, and we're better to end this podcast. Dr. Jassim, we could definitely sit and speak all day, and I have no doubt, sir, that the next time we meet, it will be to discuss the results of this coming Sunday's football match. It has been an honour of mine. It's been a pleasure of ours to have Dr. Jassim Haji, Professor in AI in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Such a mindful, pleasant individual to speak to. Very unassuming gentleman you are. It's been a pleasure, Dr. Jassim, to speak to you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for hosting me, and greetings to all your viewers and listeners.